So, you want to learn about the Night's Watch? Think it's all fun and games? Aye, it is. Tell your bollocks, free us off. Not that you've been needing them anyways. The vows, the ones you take at the start, I mean you can't even snip a hose arse, never mind bed the bitch. Brothers in black, more like brothers in arms, if you know what I mean. But, if that hasn't put you off, then I don't much will. So sit back and get ready to learn a few things about the brothers in black, protectors of the wall.
The Night's Watch, a noble group of men and boys alike who give up any chance for a meaningful life to protect the Seven Kingdoms. Or, as Tyrion so eloquently put it, a midden heap of the realm's thieves, debitors, rapers and bastards. Whether you're in favour of the glorified nursery or not, one thing is for certain, it does have a rather interesting history indeed, which is only partially due to the fact that it's one of, if not the, oldest orders in the whole of Westeros. You see, the Night's Watch was founded 8,000 years ago, just after the others had invaded from the lands of Always Winter, and this was during the first men, when they were around. That was shown in an earlier video, which I'll link via annotations, but you basically get the idea. Now after the period known as the Long Night, the others, aka the White Waters, invaded from the lands of Always Winter and laid waste to much of Westeros. Now this was until there was a battle, which was known as the Battle for Dawn, which included the Night's Watch and the others. This is where they fought. It was this big point for the Night's Watch, it was where it was kind of founded, and it's where the Bran the Builder, afterwards, that's when he built the wall, and Bran the Builder was actually part of House Stark. So the Starks have a really big history in all of Westeros, and they themselves shaped much of it, like the Lannisters did, like we talked about. And he did that to protect the Seven Kingdoms from not just others, but any other threats that lay in the lands of Always Winter, and lay on that side of the wall. And the Wildlings weren't a threat at that time, but they would be soon on, so it would protect them against them as well. Now the Children of the Forest, which were also discussed in an earlier video, they would gift the Night's Watch 100 obsidian daggers each year. This was probably a sign of goodwill, as soon after the incident, the Children of the Forest became more and more recluse, falling back to the lands of Always Winter, and even in themselves becoming a mystery. Now while the Night's Watch did manage to fight off the others, there is one major thing that happened. You see, the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch became the Night's King. Now this was because he fell in love with a woman whose skin was as white as snow, and whose skin felt like ice. Now this is a similar description to the others, and many would speculate that this was where the others started. He had a baby with her, and that she gave birth to the others, and that's how the others began. It's a legend. It was told by Old Man Bran, and it's shown in the TV show, so you can't really believe that it's fully true, but it's the Children of the Forest were a legend too, so take it as you will. But that's one of the major things that the others managed to do. They were fought off, they were killed off, well, so they thought they killed them off. They killed off most of them at that time, but that was a major point. Now the others were certainly a formidable force, and while they lacked in frequency, they made up in power. But the Wildlings, on the other hand, were the complete opposite. They would attack after time, but still get defeated. And they would attack so frequently that it made the Night's Watch to forget what the mission was, to protect against the others. And they would think the Wildlings were the main concern, when they were just a decoy, if anything, not sent by the others, but an accidental decoy. And the king of the Wildlings was actually part of the Night's Watch. So you now had somebody who was in the others, leading the others, who used to be the Lord Commander, and you also had the leader of the Wildlings as a Lord Commander. So it just showed how kind of easily the Night's Watch can be dissolved and taken apart. Not out of physical war, but maybe out of mental war even. And because the others never attacked, and because the Wildlings were so weak with their attacks, that meant that the Seven Kingdoms didn't give the Night's Watch any money, they couldn't buy any weapons, so that the people who were in the Night's Watch became less and less, and so did the morals. That's why you have the rapers, that's why you have the thieves, that's why you have the debitors in the Night's Watch, because they couldn't afford to get actual militarised people in the Night's Watch, because no one believed that there was anything out there. That's why Tyrion says that there's Rumpkins and Snarks, because he doesn't think there's anything real, because there hasn't been any evidence for years. And the only people who would actually believe the Night's Watch and know about the terrors, even the Night's Watch didn't believe the terrors actually, the only people who knew what the kind of threats were the Starks themselves. And from the show you'll probably know the Benjen Stark, Eddard Stark's brother, is part of the Night's Watch, and he was probably one of the biggest people in there. Even though the Lord Commander was the highest ranking officer, Benjen had a name with him as well, much like Jon Snow did. Now at the time that the Games of Thrones novels and TV show takes place, the Night's Watch have 3 castles and under 1,000 men. And you might think that's a lot of castles, a lot of kind of land, but before all of the chaos started, before the downfall of the Night's Watch, they actually had 17 castles. And they were all manned, and they also had 10,000 men-at-arms between them. Now they have barely any. Castle Black alone had 5,000 men, so you can kind of use that as a gauge of how much they've fallen down due to the Wildlings, due to the the others earlier time. Now, one thing that's very specific to Night's Watch is its structure, and I don't mean structures in like kind of buildings, I mean structures in people. There are 3 types of people in the Night's Watch: the Rangers, the Builders, and the Stewards. The Rangers are people who'll go out into kind of wildling territory, try and scout ahead, look for kind of camps, look for kind of encampments, and kill anybody they see. They'll try and venture around the wildling territory, try to find where their kind of strongholds are, and that's what Benjen Stark is. So that's why people think he's dead, people think he's lost, because he's a ranger. He goes out on his horse with a group of other people and tries to do other stuff. Builders are people who maintain castles and actually maintain that wall itself. They range from carpenters, masons, and do many things around kind of castles, although they are stuck in the kind of castles, stuck behind the wall. They can't go with the rangers, they're stuck doing the medial tasks. They're probably, I'd say they're the lowest of the 3 people, although there's no official kind of ranking system for them. And the stewards are like servants, although if you're a servant to the kind of High Lord, you're probably seen as better, you probably have more perks, but a steward is a servant, so maybe you're a servant to Benjen, a servant to the bird keeper. Another thing that is quite interesting about the Night's Watch is the vows that are taken, and this was discussed at the very start of the video when I was trying to be Lord Commander Moment, but basically you need to take vows, you need to be celibate, and you need to not have a family, because they're seen as like, if you have a family you'll go for them first, you'll try and save them, you'll try and reach your position, something along those lines, like family always comes first, therefore you shouldn't have a family. And the vows go something like this: night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the swan in the darkness. I am the watcher of the walls. I am the fire that burns against the cold. The light that brings the dawn. The horn that wakes the sleepers. The shield that guards the realms of men. I pledge my life and honour to Night's Watch for this night and all nights to come. Now, if you were like the youngest of a highborn family, you wouldn't earn any land, because take Benjen for example. Eddard was the oldest family member after his brother had died, after Brandon had died. He was the oldest one, so he took all the lands, he took Winterfell, so Benjen would have been left with nothing anyway. So he decided to go on the Night's Watch, and this was seen, by highborn people at least, as a big honour. But in contrast to that, it's also used as a punishment. So if you'd stolen the Queen's necklace, perhaps, use that as an example, it's not an official one, but you stole Cersei's necklace, then you would have the choice of having your hands chopped off or going on the Night's Watch. Stole a loaf of bread, you can have your cock and bullets chopped off, or you can go on the Night's Watch. Either way, you're not going to use them, but still, it's kind of seen as a punishment, and taking the black is seen as a very bad thing. Now, even though the wall is the most iconic and largest piece of land that the Night's Watch holds, it still holds many other places. One of them being the Gift. One of those being the Gift. Now, this was something that the Stark, King Brandon Stark of the North, gave to the Night's Watch as a kind of present, as they've always had this kind of strong bond, and they've always had the same kind of beliefs, and trusted each other in general. Now, for years, the Watch farmed the Gift, but as their numbers dwindled, so did the people who could plough the field, so did the people who maintained it, and it fell into disrepair, so they couldn't use it anymore. Which is kind of like a visual reminder of how bad the Night's Watch is doing again. A lot of the stuff's about the kind of downfall of the Night's Watch. It's gradually getting worse and worse. Maybe they'll have like another kind of boost of morale. They also have some ships, although these are never really mentioned. They have 3 ships: the Blackbird, the Stormcrow, and the Talon. Those are near Eastwatch, and they're not really used at all. Really, it's just a little bit of information. They've got ships, and they can kind of maybe escape if they had to, and do certain kind of naval warfare with them as well. Now, the Lord Commander, when Game of Thrones takes place, is Jeor Mormont, and the Mormont may be a familiar name because Jorah Mormont is somebody who's with Daenerys Targaryen at the time of the kind of Game of Thrones timeline, basically. So the way it works is, you might think that Jeor might not be able to have sons because he's the Lord Commander, but he wasn't always part of the Night's Watch. He joined the Night's Watch after he'd had a son, and that's allowed. So he could have a son and then join the Night's Watch afterwards. The reason he did that is so that his son could earn all the lands, and so because of his old age, so he could kind of do a final thing. And Jorah was kind of banished from Westeros because he fought off some kind of poachers who were trying to kill his bears, and that's kind of why he's with Daenerys again, because he was banished from there. So there you have it. That's Night's Watch lore in a nutshell. A kind of brief, light lore kind of look at the Night's Watch. As you can see, they've had a kind of downfall over the years. They've got worse and worse due to Wildlings and the others both invading, but hopefully things will get better as the novels progress, because remember there's 2 more novels to come out from George R.R. Martin. Hopefully something good comes from them in that. I've been Cipyaar, this has been Light War, Game of Thrones Night's Watch. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.